Hello and welcome to DNQ Football's September Internationals Roundup and General Chit Chat. We try to get these in after an international break to just round up. We try and do as many videos as we can, talking about some of the key topics, some of our favourite things. But there's lots, Ryan, that gets missed as we have to focus on. We can't do a million videos in a month, and of course some months we disappear entirely. Which we're trying to get better at as well. I think we've been saying that for about 2 years now. But most importantly, how are you?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. When we spoke about the international break coming back, we um we actually used the example. There's that meme of Homer backing into the bushes. If you flip that in reverse, that's us resurfacing when the international break comes around. And I think we've got it on repeat, haven't we? Every time an international break ends, we strive to be a bit more present during. I think this one will be different though, and I think we've always been typically decent in the winter because it's very September,
Mm-hmm.
October. It's quite bang bang, and it's you sort of you remain in that headspace, which is really really nice. Um, I'm good, mate. I'm good. We're recording this now on Sunday afternoon. My other half's been working all weekend, so I have been solo parenting, but I have got I've got a mug of coffee to keep me ticking. I need that caffeine. I need that
Perfect.
injection of caffeine. And I didn't realize until you started, but is this this cup's about as big as my head?
It is, and also it's great to see that you have entertaining mugs on display here, um, rather than just you don't want anything boring. just the plain white mug. I'm trying to keep myself hydrated, maybe a bit too much. So if you hear any slamming at any point, it's because I've got equally almost as big as my head
Jesus!
water. I know.
How thirsty are we?
Oh.
Thirsty for this content.
Thirsty work. You know what is the thirstiest work that we ever do on D&Q is when we do a watch along, and you're trying to speak to a game to keep people entertained as much as is humanly possible, particularly with some of the games that we do not being sensational in entertainment. And after you're speaking for 45 minutes, when it gets to half time, you're buzzing because you can just change the screen and just go and just guzzle some water and
Yeah, yeah.
refuel for the second half.
You're always good at those watch-alongs, especially when the game is dry. And we've had a couple. I mean, you've had a couple. You're a bit more present on them than I am. But some of them where it's been like 0-0 up until 60, and you're just like, wow. And there's nothing going on.
No.
And it's not even like it's end to end. Yeah.
It's easy to do when there's two of us though, because we can just talk about other things. And
Yeah.
there's just a bit more
Yeah.
going on. When it's been just me and it's been a really dead game, it gets tough. You clutch at straws a little bit,
Yeah.
and sometimes you can get the not that it's all about views, but if you are there and it's a dead game and the views really start to dip off,
Yeah.
and you're not speaking to that many people, and sometimes we've got some great people on the channel that are always there in the chat, and that keeps it going. But when the chat's not going, and there's nobody really watching, and the game's a bit rubbish, and you think, why have I put
Yeah.
myself in for this 3 hours?
Some of the conversations that you're having with yourself,
Yeah.
but obviously kind of on camera.
Mm.
So what is the biggest animal that I think that I probably could fight? I
Yes.
think if I
Yeah.
was, I mean, would I take on 100 ant-sized elephants or one elephant-sized ant? And and you're there and you're like, how's it got to this?
I'm not taking on an elephant-sized ant, by the way. I think that would be horrific.
Oh yeah, that would be terrifying.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you'd rather it the other way around.
Mm.
Anyway, should we get on and talk about some international football? Because it's been, like you say,
Yes,
and
mate.
I think
Let's do
you've
it.
hit the nail on the head, really. Between September and the end of the year is never an issue for D&Q content. And I'd even stretch it out to the end of February and sometimes into March as well. The tough part comes from when there's not that many tournaments between April, May, June, July,
Well,
sometimes.
we had a few. We had a few this year, mate. To be fair, the summer was fine. It's just the yeah, the late July, maybe the August, and then yeah, I don't know, mate. I don't know. Um, we're up and down, aren't we? We're up and down. Hey, we're working on it. We're working on it. But it has. We're just off the back of this fresh September. Where do you want to start, mate? Because there's loads that happened. There's loads of talking points. We don't want to keep people here for hours on end, which we could easily chew the fat
Yeah,
over everything
yeah.
for ages as we normally do. But in the hope to keep this semi-entertaining for people and to cover off a load of the stuff that happened, where do you want to start?
Let's
Ideally,
do
what
let's do what we
topics?
tend to do and go around the globe. We're going to start in. We're actually going to start in Europe with
Right,
mainly
okay.
um, Euros qualifiers. Then we're going to move
Yep.
around to Asia, Oceania, Africa. We're not really going to talk about CONMEBOL, which is South America. And then, of course,
No,
finish off with the Caribbean. You're wearing the BVI shirt
I am.
as well, and a few other sides which we'll talk about from the Caribbean. And I don't know how segmentation works on YouTube videos. Haven't got that far yet. But if you're really not interested in some regions and more interested in others, feel free to skip ahead. But if you're just here for the Minnow Nation content, then do stick with us. But we will be kicking things off, and I'm going to kick things off with a question to you, a trivia question, not necessarily Minnow Nation stuff. There are 3 teams so far, Ryan, in Euro qualification with a perfect record.
Yep.
Can you name the 3 nations with a perfect record so far?
Scotland, France. I don't know.
You've got 2.
Portugal.
It is
Portugal.
Yes. Wow,
Yeah,
that wasn't
yeah.
even remotely challenging. Fair enough.
No, because Scotland have. You can't go anywhere without every time they
Yes.
play, and obviously they've been doing really well. But because they've been doing well, it's like, oh my God, Scotland are doing amazing. You almost can't miss that. France is obvious. Again, they just win all the time. And Portugal, the only reason I know that is because I was following Luxembourg from a Minnow Nation perspective, and Portugal absolutely battered them, beat them 9-0. And again, that is because I know that Luxembourg are still, despite that ridiculously heavy defeat, they are still within a shout of qualifying for the next Euros, which is an amazing achievement in itself. Actually, let me get the groups up now so we can talk about it as we go, because they are. Oh, which group is that?
It's the
Group J, yeah, is the bottom one. So yeah, Portugal played 6-1-6, so they're on 18, but Luxembourg are on 10 points, so they're 3 points off Slovakia.
Tough group as well, to be honest. You know, if you look at it, Luxembourg, they're still above Bosnia, who are historically, obviously, a slightly better side. A few of the kind of key players you'd name from a Bosnian perspective, maybe slightly older now. When you sort of think back at like classic Prem players,
Pjanic and the Dzekos and stuff like that.
Players like that. They're a little bit past their peak, but still, for Luxembourg to be above them, and Slovakia are actually very good. But like, you know, it's a tough group, and Luxembourg is still doing very, very well to keep themselves in and around it. You know, another team that I think it's definitely worth mentioning that we've not really spoken about much on the channel before, because you talk about Luxembourg, they are a Minnow Nation. I'd still regard them as a Minnow Nation.
Yeah.
You know, the channel's called D&Q, did not qualify for a particular reason. Luxembourg fall into that category, but they are in the top 100 world rankings wise now. And when you look at Europe, there's not that many teams that are Minnow Nations but do okay. But a side that's worth mentioning, Moldova, are doing incredible.
You've read my mind there, actually. You've read my mind, because that was one thing that I wanted to bring up on this call.
Yeah, incredible they're doing.
They're not in the qualification spots, though, are they? I know they've won a game. They beat Faroes.
I believe. Are they level points? Or are they third in the group, or are they second?
They've got 8 points. I know that for a big old fact. No,
10.
you're right. So Czechia are second, and they are. You're right. They're level points. Yeah. Although the Czechs have got a game in hand. But Moldova to be after 5 games in a tricky group, by the way, because the Faroes are actually no slouch, especially at home. They can be quite tricky. Poland, Czechia, and Albania. So to be played through 5, 2 wins, 2 draws, and a defeat, and 8 points, it's absolutely insane. And I was then looking at their previous qualification for European Championships, and they have. They've never come higher than 4th in any of the groups. Typically, the last 4 times they finished either 5th or 6th, so that's either bottom or second bottom. And you're playing 10 and 12 games, and normally they're winning 1 game.
Yeah.
In 2016, they didn't win a game in qualification. 2012, they won 3 games, so I can only assume that they probably had a favourable draw there, maybe a San Marino or something in their qualification group. But what they're doing in what is a very, very difficult group is incredible. And do they have a shot? Do they have a shot there, mate?
So a big question is around. They obviously famously beat Poland in June in the international break 3-2. That 85th minute winner for them. But they play Poland in Poland next month.
They do.
And I feel like if they lose that, then the remaining group games they've got are tough. And yes, it would have been still to get this many points is great for them, and they will potentially start to drop off. However, if they get a point or even do the double over Poland, you have to say for a side ranked currently before the rankings update 1-6-4.
Yeah.
That is an incredible achievement because when you're 164 in a different part of the world, so if you are Fiji around the 160 mark, I believe, you are playing sides between 110 and 200 odd. You know, we're talking about a team that has to play teams inside the top 50 almost every game. And
Yeah.
from 50 to 164 is a huge golf in quality. And so for Moldova to be doing what they're doing is absolutely incredible. We don't speak about them much on the channel. We don't speak about Europe much on the channel. But we've talked about Luxembourg. I really enjoy watching Luxembourg play. But Moldova are doing insane so far.
They are just quickly, and again, I know it's because it's the same group, but and I know they're not minnows, so we're not going to talk about them too long. But Poland's performance so far, wow! I
Awful.
know they beat the Faroes, but then lost away to Albania 2-0. I thought they'd
Awful.
actually win that. They really have sort of regressed, haven't they, on the international stage,
What
Poland?
are
But
they 6 points currently from five
yeah,
games?
6 points from five.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's bad.
absolutely. They're really struggling.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that's sort of really standing out across Europe? It's kind of not, is there? We've
Not
spoken about the
really.
unbeaten team, some of the minnow performances, and then you've got the real minnows that are kind of losing every game as you'd
Yeah.
expect. Gibraltar, Malta, Latvia are really struggling actually. The Faroes have picked up a point. Who did the Faroes draw against? This is going back a while, I think. Oh, okay, it was Moldova.
Right.
Okay, fair enough. So Moldova probably could have done with winning that game.
Mm.
And then San Marino, who there was some expectation. Well, there wasn't any expectation actually. They played Slovenia and
To play Northern
was it
Ireland.
just Slovenia? Oh, and no, they played Denmark. Their next game is away to Northern Ireland, and
Right.
Northern Ireland, who are also in a bit of a slouch on the international stage. Um, their kind of golden generation with the Stephen Davies and Johnny Evans
Yeah,
of
that's
this
right.
world has kind of been and gone, hasn't it? But
Mm.
for San Marino, there's still, yeah, no points, no goals, and the search goes on. I don't know how many games it is now winless, but it's hundreds, isn't it? It's a hundred
Well,
and something.
yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's in the hundreds now. I mean, the question as well is we did a video ages ago when the groups were drawn is will they even score a goal? I think I
Hmm.
said they might score one.
Did I
Um,
say that they would? It feels like they never have a fit team, though. It feels like they
no, I
never have
know.
their best players ever, ever.
Nani
Yeah, but
seems
do
to be
they?
injured all the time.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that, isn't it? You think, oh, yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know.
It's tough for them. It's
Who
a
knows?
tough group. I'd say that one of their best chances to grab a goal, a random goal, might be against Northern Ireland next time. I mean, you're playing Denmark, you're not going to get anything, are you? You know, truth be
No, no,
told.
absolutely not. Absolutely not. But no, yeah, massive props to Moldova. And despite the 9-0 defeat, it'll be interesting to see how Luxembourg get
Mm,
on in the rest of that campaign. Again, they've got a really important October. Can't remember the fixtures now, but they play. Is it? Did I say it's Slovakia that are 3 points
yeah.
ahead of them? I think they've got Slovakia in the next break, so that'll be really interesting to keep tabs on. I know they're not technically our minnow thing, but they are definitely a former minnow that have
Well,
really risen.
yeah, it's a bit
So
like we're going to move on to Africa, and there's a few teams we're going to mention, and they're sort of pushing the boundary of what a minnow actually means now. But
yeah,
you know,
because I mean, what's the size of? I'm going to do a very quick on-stream Luxembourg population, because
oh, I would have
six
no
six
idea.
hundred and forty thousand.
Yeah, I mean it's
So it's
it's
it's half the size of Cyprus.
yeah,
According to this is 2021 statistics. So hey,
it's close enough. So
who knows?
700k ballpark.
Yeah, and so they're doing incredible things.
Mm.
So it's good to see, despite the absolute hammering. Did Ronaldo score in that game?
I
I didn't
don't think so.
see any suing on my Twitter
No.
or sorry, my X timeline over the
Sweet.
international break. Um, yeah, so that's Europe, mate. Europe, and you mentioned Africa. Should we dart there next? Should we go south
Should we go
to the
south instead of
continent?
east? Let's do it. Let's do middle then east
Well,
then
let's go south because let's talk about AFCON qualifiers. Let's
yeah.
very briefly touch on Gambia. You've done a separate video on
Mhm.
on Gambia and how they came back from the dead
Yeah.
um, to clinch qualification. So we don't need to go into we don't need to break that down now.
No.
Fantastic achievement from them again, back to back. Only the second time they've ever qualified, and
Watch the
they've
video.
absolutely. One thing that stood out to me is I don't know the answer to this, but I know that despite getting to the quarterfinal in the last AFCON, they had to start this qualification in the preliminary round again, didn't they?
They
Because of
did.
their FIFA ranking.
Yeah.
So are they, do you think, one of the only nations to qualify back to back to a major tournament starting in the preliminary qualification round, because they would have started in the prelims for
They
the
did.
the last AFCON. And I don't know what the answer is, but I'm throwing it out there.
It's a very good
That's
question, actually.
it's a really niche question, I know, but
Well, I asked the question
that
on the video that I did: is how many teams have qualified for a tournament like this at AFCON, Euros, etc. In this kind of format, and have qualified back to back and been the lowest ranked side back to
yes,
back.
yes, you did say that.
You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
because and
That's
the
a really good point.
preliminaries is a good question as well. Like Gambia have gone up however many places, 33, something like that, in the last year from 150 to whatever they are now, 1 something. Um, but they're still the lowest ranked team at AFCON,
Yeah.
which is incredible, really. Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they do it, to be honest. They pulled the game out of nothing. Obviously, won't go into full details. You'd have probably seen the video already if you haven't. I've already linked it before. But Gambia got there, and you know what? I've looked at the sides that have qualified for AFCON. You've got Tanzania, you've got Namibia, you've got Mauritania, Gambia. So many, too many to mention.
Guinea-Bissau.
Guinea-Bissau, Equatorial Guinea, and I do just look at it. I think, what a tournament! What a tournament! Because with the exception of, I'd say there's probably 3 elite teams that, in my mind, just can't be beaten. Arguably 4. You have Senegal, Egypt, Morocco. And then potentially Algeria around there as well. But I think the others, Ivory Coast are the hosts. There's nothing to say that an Equatorial Guinea can't beat an Ivory Coast, or a Gambia can't beat a Cameroon. We've seen these kind of upsets before. AFCON always throws up some kind of crazy result. And sides like Namibia are competitive with these sort of teams now, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. Of course, it takes place at the start of the next calendar year, start of 2024. But I'm just looking at it and I can't wait for it. I cannot wait for it.
Yeah, I'm just looking at Guinea-Bissau because they're 114 rank at the moment, and they played Sierra Leone to secure qualification, and it's a great result. Is that the first time they've qualified for AFCON?
Guinea-Bissau.
Are we?
I think so. Don't know off the top of my head. I don't think there's any side that's making their maiden appearance this time.
No, I think you're right.
But it'd be interesting. Like, you look at Namibia. Namibia have qualified multiple times.
Yeah.
But they've only ever got to the group stages, and there's a few teams that have qualified that have never got out of the groups. So it'll be interesting to see if they can this time around.
And Guinea-Bissau are one of them. So actually, they've qualified. They've qualified now. This is the 4th qualification on the spin. So props to them. Again, they've not got out of the group stages. For Namibia, this is again only the 4th time that they've qualified. They've qualified 98, 2008, 2019, and then 2023, never getting out of the group stages. So it'll be interesting that AFCON draw, which hasn't taken place yet, has it?
No, it's October.
No, so that'll be
12th of October is the draw.
Cool. That would be very, very interesting. So some amazing results, and extremely passionate nations again will be dancing on the biggest stage in African international football. So looking forward to it, mate.
Do you want to give me a super early shout for winner?
Morocco.
I was going to say Morocco.
Just because
because
World Cup and they got some great team, great players.
Like it.
And that was it. Everything that was the main thing in Africa, though, wasn't it?
Yeah,
we've international break. Just finishing off that.
We've got World Cup qualifiers. We did our video on the format and our video where we broke down the groups, we recorded it instantly after and have sat on it over our summer break, as we'll call it. That goes out this coming week as well. So you'll be able to see
so
what
much
we
content.
think about there's so much DNQ content. Why not subscribe if you don't already? So there's going to be a full breakdown of all the groups and who we think is going to struggle, who we think is going to do well. You can look forward to that one, which will be out this week. But no, it was just the final groups in AFCON qualification in Africa this time around. And if we move on, if we go north east, if you're looking from sort of a regular map, to Asia. An interesting tournament. So we've spoken a few times on the channel around the Pacific Games, which will be coming up, and we'll speak about that as part of the OFC recap. But there is the Hangzhou Asian Games, which are coming up soon. They are taking place from the 23rd of September to the 8th of October. So again, it's like a mini Olympics type thing, similarly to the Pacific Games. I've seen that the India squad has been announced for it, and Chetri's part of it. And there's
Is
all
he?
sorts of talk. Sandesh Jingan, I think, is either
So
just
so
missed
will
out
they
or is
count?
in.
Will they count towards if he scores? Will they be international
I don't think
goals? Will they
it's a
go to his
FIFA
record?
registered tournament, so
No.
I
Okay.
don't think it counts. But it's like football at the Olympics is kind of as it's classified. So it's the same as like when Andy Murray won for GB in the tennis.
Right.
It's like that's not a Grand Slam.
So
Um,
sorry, is this Olympic qualifiers? Is that what it is? That what
no,
it
no,
is?
no.
Sorry.
This is the same as like Pacific Games. It's just like the local Asian games.
Right.
They've got
Okay.
it's
Okay.
taking
Got
place
it.
in Hangzhou in China, and football
Okay.
is part of that. So I don't know all the details. Really excited to kind of get into this one. We'll probably do a video on it, or throughout the tournament, we'll give you a bit of an update on how it's going, depending on coverage, because I don't know what it's going to be like. But yeah, I just saw that it popped up. Hangzhou Asian Games taking place 23rd of September to the 8th of October. And so it'll be interesting. I don't know if teams will take their kind of full squads, but it's maybe an opportunity to see some of the smaller nations play again.
Did you see that the King's Cup happened again? We've
Yes,
spoken
it
about the
did.
King's Cup a few times. Yeah.
Mm.
Iraq won on penalties in the final, but this is obviously just the. It's a bit of a random tournament, isn't it? This they
Yeah.
basically will invite teams. Last year it had Trinidad and Tobago in it. I think it's had Brazil in it before. Maybe not. Curacao were in it a couple of years ago. Gabon, because
Yes.
Pierre-Emerick
Yeah.
Aubameyang is like listed as one of the famous players that's played in it. Slovakia, UAE. They've had a real eclectic mix of teams that turn up for it. This time, Lebanon, Iraq, India, and Thailand. Who it's the King's Cup Thailand tournament,
Yes.
isn't it?
Mm.
And yeah, Iraq beat Thailand on penalties. Although actually Iraq only drew with India in the first game and beat them on penalties.
Yeah, it goes straight
And
into semis, doesn't it? Effectively.
yeah, that's it. So there's only one, two, three, four. There's only four games
Four
because they do
games.
a
Yeah.
third and fourth place playoff as well. But interestingly, random fact: when Iraq drew with India and then beat them on penalties, their two goals in the 2-2 draw were both penalties.
Mm.
So they basically just banged seven penalties
That's
across the whole game, and
unfortunate. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I don't know. I saw a lot of stuff on Twitter about AFC Asian Cup qualification, but that was under 23s, isn't it? Because they
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
yeah.
It's under 23s qualifiers, so there was
When is the next AFC Asian Cup? Is it 2023?
no, because it was delayed because it was going to be in China and it's now in Qatar and it takes place in
That's right.
January. Similar time to
2024. Yeah,
AFCON.
you're dead right.
So
Yeah,
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 it was
yeah.
delayed, but it was due to be this year. But qualification's already taken place because we did a thing on the groups.
Yes, yeah, we did. Yeah,
But that was a while ago because the draw was ages ago because when the tournament was due to be played, they didn't move qualifiers or
yeah.
anything. But yeah, it's not until the start of the new year, so we'll ramp up to that in sort of December, January time. But one thing that is happening very soon is the first round of World Cup qualification from the AFC region.
Yes.
So the 20 lowest ranked sides play in round one of AFC World Cup qualification for 2026 World Cup. And they're playing head to head. So across the next, that'll be in the October international break, I believe.
It is, yeah.
12th and 17th, rough dates for those matchups. So before that, we'll be doing our all you need to know about how it works, the full qualification
Yeah.
breakdown, as well as our round one preview for those head-to-head games and picking out some of the
Yeah.
unfancied sides because it's kind of mixed. You've got real minnows and then you've got slightly stronger sides like I've seen Singapore are in round one, for example.
They are, yeah.
They'll be
Playing
desperate.
Guam.
Yeah, and they'll be pushing to get out of that, and that shows the disparity between some of the sides. Guam, obviously one of the lowest ranked nations. So that is coming up next month on DNQ Football. So if you are looking forward to round one, or indeed just the full process for World Cup qualification, then this is the place to be.
The interesting thing there, isn't it? And they always do this in AFC, but they do. In fact, I think they probably do it in other regions as well. But it's notable for AFCs. They always do. So this is the first round, preliminary round of World Cup qualifiers, but it's always then. They're getting ahead of the game. It's also the qualifier or the pre-qualifier for the AFC Asian Cup 2027.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, if you lose across that double legger, then
you're into the first round of the. You have to then start again when it comes to AFC Asian Cup qualification. Whereas obviously, if you qualify for the World Cup, I believe you'll qualify for the Asian Cup.
Yeah, it's just funny, isn't it?
But at least it's a double legger.
Yeah.
I don't love preliminary rounds because it limits the amount of games that teams get to play. I fully understand it from a logistics perspective when you have this many teams in AFC, but it's a shame. Like Guam, I'm going to go out on a limb here. Guam are going to play 2 games in World Cup qualifiers. And I
Mm.
think that's a bit of a shame.
I don't think you're. Yeah, I don't think you're really pushing the boat out with
No,
that ballsy
not
statement there.
really. But I don't want to jinx it.
I don't think there's people going to be listening going,
I take offence to that. I think that Guam are
oh,
favourites.
he's rolled.
Oh
He
yeah.
really does
I make
push
some
the boat out with
bold
some of these.
predictions on this channel.
The insight and intellect is really off the scale. Um, yeah, no, yeah. Well, Guam.
Hmm.
I really hope that they do bits now. We will see. I didn't really keep a huge amount of tabs on the AFC region across this last period. I know that Malaysia got a good few
Yeah,
results. They drew
international
China.
friendlies mainly.
Yeah,
I think across this, I didn't notice there was the King's Cup. There was a few smaller tournaments and stuff that's being held, but really a lot of focus and attention will be on the October and further international breaks because you've got a big 6 months from now with World Cup qualification and the AFC Asian Cup, which is huge, which of course will be played in Qatar. Yeah, well, I'd be interested to see what attendance is like for that. I'm sure it'll be pretty good. I'm sure they'll probably use the big stadiums in that in Qatar as well, which would be great.
there they will.
But yeah.
We missed something actually. Just talking about it, because I know that you tweeted about it a little bit. Just quick plug on, if you don't follow us on Twitter or X, then do at DNQ Football. We're pretty regular tweeters across the international break, I would say. You were tweeting. We totally missed this on Africa because obviously they qualified in the end and they did, but there was a period where Cameroon almost found
Yeah,
themselves
they almost missed out.
crashing out. Because it was 0-0 at half time in their
It
game.
was 0-0 for about 50 minutes, I think, in that
Yeah.
game against Burundi. And if it had finished 0-0, 1-1 or 2-2, Cameroon would have gone out. And in the end, they
Yeah.
got the 3-0 win, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, in a 3-team group, because of, I believe it was Kenya that were supposed to be in that group, but they're disqualified because of their FIFA ban. It was a 3-team group with Namibia, Cameroon, and Burundi. And Cameroon came very close to going out, which is just
That would have been sensational.
that would have been brilliant.
Wouldn't it?
That would have been brilliant. No disrespect to Cameroonians.
Is that an evil thing to say? Probably is, isn't it?
No, I don't think so, because I think, anyone who fancies the underdog would have wanted Cameroon to go out, and that's no disrespect to Cameroon. Obviously, if you're from Cameroon, then you want them to go through. But from our perspective, to have 2 of the lowest ranked sides get through.
Yeah, it would have been amazing. Yeah, at the expense of a big.
Yeah, a classic team, really. Like, when you think, if you were to ask random people on the street to try and name 5 African countries, I think most people would say Cameroon.
Yeah. Do you do that a lot? Yeah.
Not random people. Just myself. People. I just quiz myself.
Yeah, just quiz yourself.
In fact, why don't we just take 10 minutes now, name every country in Africa?
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. We would do it. Yeah, no, let's not do that.
Anyway, we'll move on geographically to another region that didn't have a huge amount going on in Oceania, OFC.
Yeah, well, just the Olympic stuff on it. That was it.
The only thing I've got was the Olympic qualifiers. They take their under-23 squads to play those games. New Zealand won. They beat Fiji. We did the preview for that game. I said that New Zealand would win and that there'd be goals in it. I thought that Fiji would score. It was a very, very comfortable New Zealand win in the end.
5-0, wasn't it?
It was more than that.
Was it 5? It was more than the 5 zipper.
Yeah, I can't remember what it was off the top of my head, but it was a lot. I think it was like 9-0 or something.
New Zealand football. Just going to Google it quick. Olympic qualifier, is it?
Yeah, for Paris 2024. So the actual Olympics when football will be played.
Oh my god! I thought for a minute then I thought it was 3:11, but that's actually the duration of the video that I'm looking at the wrong thing. Yeah, sorry. I can't find it. But they went through. Sorry, I threw a spanner in the works.
You can't trust him. But there's a few things to mention on this region. Rafael is doing well for his club. Scored the other day for Vélez Mostar or whatever it's called.
Rafael, yeah.
Yeah, he's doing well. He wasn't able to play for the Solomon Islands because of passport and travel issues, which is going to be an interesting thing across the next however long with Rafael. It's great that he's playing in Europe. It's great that he's playing abroad, but it may cause some complications for his representation of his nation, just because of travel from Eastern Europe to the Solomon Islands, for example. But hopefully he'll be involved in the Pacific Games if his club allows him to go, because that's the next big thing that's coming up across the next few months. the Pacific Games, similar to the Hangzhou Asian Games that we've already spoken about. And that will actually be played in the Solomon Islands, that tournament. And an update from Papua New Guinea is that the Comalong brothers are on the road to recovery. I saw a post from Alwyn, and they should both be able to play. They're both.
I
injured.
don't think you've ever been able to go a stretch of more than 5 videos without mentioning one of the Comalong brothers.
That's tough not to. I mean, you're speaking about
Also,
PNG.
Billy Forbes as well. We've got to talk about Billy Forbes because we've got to talk about you posting about Billy Forbes with every opportunity. At one point, you posted out saying about how Ryan says there's not a Billy Forbes fan channel,
It is.
and I really want to stress this now. This is not a Billy Forbes fan channel. So you did a video of him in an interview saying that he was ready,
Yeah, and we lost.
and then they lost both
games.
games. They lost both games.
He scored.
What's going on with the Hayden Mullins thing? Oh, he scored a penalty. Come on, it was not.
Later in the video. It's later in the video.
I'm just throwing a spanner in the works. You started talking about the Comalong brothers, so I was like, oh my goodness, he's going on.
The Comalong brothers, because we're talking about OFC.
There's nothing. There's nothing more to talk about. Is there an OFC?
I was finishing my point. They should be back for the Pacific Games.
All right.
Mr.
Pacific Games.
Mr. Oh, I think that New Zealand won 311-0.
No, I thought it was 3:11 because the thumbnail. It looked like the thumbnail said 3.11, but it was actually the duration of the video.
And this guy co-runs a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Disgraceful. CONMEBOL. Before we move on to the Caribbean,
oh, it's
we
part
don't
of the
talk about
CONMEBOL.
CONMEBOL. The lowest ranked team is
Tom
83
hates
in the
CONMEBOL.
world. I don't hate the CONMEBOL. You know what I hate about CONMEBOL? There are so few teams, and you could say the same about OFC in some ways, but it's just more passionate. There's so few teams in CONMEBOL that they just have one group for World Cup qualification, and it's just a number of teams qualify. And Bolivia lose most games. They're 83rd in the world, so they're still better than, most other teams.
Yeah, they got a tough draw there.
Oh yeah, well they have a tough draw for everything because there is never a draw. It's just, should we just do this again?
Yeah. There are sovereign states or dependencies in South America which are not affiliated with CONMEBOL but are members of other confederations, which is obviously name the three.
Guyana.
Yeah, that's one.
Suriname.
Yeah, fair play.
And is it part of it? Is it Grenada?
No.
Is it Curacao?
One more guess. No, French Guyana.
Oh, French Guyana.
And it's got the Falkland Islands there, but they're not a.
No, they're Canifa, aren't they? So they're not affiliated to anyone.
Yeah, they're not. Yeah, we went to watch them, didn't we?
We did.
Against the Chagos Islands, they got absolutely bopped, didn't they?
Yep. By the Chagossians.
Yeah, they got absolutely moved to. Are we on to CONCACAF yet, my friend?
We are. We're on to CONCACAF. Go on, you're wearing the shirt. Go on, talk about it.
Well, it's. I mean, not just the fact that I am a BVI fanboy, but as I put on our Twitter, their first ever CONCACAF Nations League victory, their first victory of any kind for over 11 years, and their first competitive non-friendly win for 19 years. So there were scenes of absolute jubilation at the end of the game. Lots of players celebrating. And I was going to say, yeah, and I think you could look at that and be like, oh, mate, come on, you're 206 and you beat the team that are 202. But it's more than that in this case. It's almost 2 decades of waiting for that non-friendly victory. I think they've only, I don't know how many games they've won as a footballing nation in their entire history, but it's not many. So the wins don't come around too often. They won 3-1. They beat your TCA team that were very, very bad, if I'm being honest. I don't know what happened. With TCA, Mullins is no longer the manager, and they looked as disorganised as they were before he took over for the 2 games that he did really well for. That's another thing. The BVI looked really great. I don't know if you can call a team that are ranked 206th in the world. I don't know if you can say that they're about to have a golden generation, but they are.
It's funny. I was I was going to say this, and they need to start winning more games because they are in/reaching a golden generation of players.
They're all still so young, though, mate.
Like Luca Chilwell, for example.
He's like 18.
Yeah, and we've spoken about it a lot on the channel before. Like the influence that they've got of a lot of these players being in the English football pyramid, and how elite that football pyramid is. And it will not be long, 3-4 years, depending on how many games that they can play, before BVI will be out of the 200 club and into the
Yeah, I
low
think so.
90s.
I do think so. I think they will be that. Yeah, that we love the 200 club. I think they'll be out. They will be out the 200 club before you know it. I think they've got a tough. The other team in the group, obviously, it's only a three-team group in Nations League
See?
C. Is it League C? Yeah. Um, with them, Turks and Caicos and Dominica. But I think they'll give Dominica a good game.
Yeah, I think so.
And with them, they can probably eye this up as a genuine chance to win more games, especially if Turks and Caicos are going to turn up as poor as they were in that game. If they can beat them again, get the results against Dominica, they could get promoted. They could get promoted into League B, which would be again insane. So yeah, just a shout out to them again. I was watching that game, so I tweeted an awful lot throughout it. So we won't dissect it too much. They were great. They've actually got some very very good players, and they won't be. Yeah, as we said, they won't be in the 200 club for long. But just yeah, massive shout out to them. Massive congrats. Um, Chris
Kiwanya.
Kiwanya, who is the manager, who was a 90s Premier League footballer, which is amazing. Shout out to him, great job. And then also to their technical director, Daniel Neville, that we will try and get on the channel, I think, because as I think I've mentioned before, Danny Neville used to be a coach at Bournemouth Centre of Excellence when I was a schoolboy, and he used to coach me. So I've actually got him on LinkedIn.
Yeah,
How random is that?
that is random.
I'll drop him a
But,
quick LinkedIn message.
It's the beauty of the Minnow Nation football, though, in many ways. Like
Yes.
we talk about the Turks and Caicos Islands briefly, but like when you and I were growing up as West Ham fans, we had Hayden Mullins in the centre of the park, and then I was
Yeah.
watching him coaching a national football team that I support. He's now gone. A lot of the players who played in the unbelievable, probably golden period of my lifetime now of Turks and Caicos Islands international football in like March this year. With those
Well, they
crazy
won a
wins.
couple of games, yeah.
Yeah,
A couple of games, a
which,
couple of good wins.
is,
But they looked
so,
solid, and it's like they
there was
actually
a
looked
system, there
organised.
was a plan, there was logic.
Yeah,
there
it was just very strange, very strange.
all gone out the window. There needs to be with the BVI, they've had a project going for a while now,
Yeah.
and it's sort of starting to bear fruit. If you go back not too long before, like Andrew Ross got called up, and he was just a five-a-side player that just lived there.
Yeah.
What it is now is complete
Legend of the game.
Oh yeah, legend from Aberdeen.
Absolutely.
I think, and just
He was,
lived there
yeah,
for
yeah.
a few years.
Yeah, and there was no one knows if he's called Andrew Ross or Ross Andrew.
No,
That's the
yeah, which is
yeah.
so strange because there's two first
Right.
names.
If Adam Ross or Ross Andrews listening, big up yourself, bro.
Well, his name's
Four
not Adam
caps.
Ross. Adam doesn't come into it at all.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, if you're Andrew Ross or Ross Andrew and you're listening to this, mate, big up yourself, mate.
Oh,
Give
yeah.
yourself a pat on the back. 4 caps, 0 goals, 0 influence, but
Legend.
absolute legend of the game, because I think there's a couple of big tabloids that picked up the fact that the BVI was short a player, so they basically got someone that lived on the island who was good at five-a-side and just called him up into the squad.
Wasn't he like
And
an
that's what they
accountant or something? It was like an
no,
office worker, wasn't he?
I think that's James Drury. James
Oh.
Drury, the former centre back, used to work in finance over there. I don't know how I know that, again, stupid facts. But anyway, yeah, that's where the BVI have come from.
Yeah.
And they didn't have Jerry Wiltshire and they didn't have Jamie Wilson in the squad, who are very important players for them, especially JJ Wiltshire. So we've spoken about BVI too much now, but this is why I'm wearing the shirt. Congrats to them, buzz in, bring on the next round of games, and hopefully more W's on the board. Touch on a few more. Let's blitz through a few things quickly, because I think it's been spoken about by us and then others as well. Oh yeah, Montserrat gaffer.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, another player who used to play for West Ham and
Yes.
obviously played in the Premier League an awful lot, is now international manager of Montserrat and had a very successful start to international management life. Of course, Montserrat, they kind of needed a new manager, I think, because they didn't do well in Nations League B last time. They've got a decent squad. They should be competing at a decent level. And they should now. Lyle Taylor scored an incredible free kick in one of their wins. They win over Barbados, I believe.
Well, they did follow up with a bad defeat though, didn't
They
they?
did.
But yeah, Dom Rep are a very very strong outfit.
Yeah,
So they
I
got an
almost
important win.
Yeah. Dom Repper are secretly very good. But they got an important win. And then, that Dom Rep, they'll hope for better next time. But Dom
They
Rep
could
are
come
very
top
good as well.
2, although they got a tough group though. Actually, Nicaragua are a good side. They do have a very very difficult group there. They'll probably come third, really, won't they? But just interesting that again, it's just another example of the Caribbean teams, CONCACAF teams that they'll they will have a massive thing that happens, i.e., a former Premier League footballer. Actually, Lee Bowyer is a very successful manager, and he's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
very successful in England. But yeah, no press release, no press, no
No.
social announcement, no website update, nothing. And then basically, there's just a picture of him training, and it's like the Montserrat fan pages. Is that Lee Bowyer?
Hmm.
And it's like everyone's on Twitter is a bit like, that's Lee Bowyer.
It's incredible. I can't
And
believe it. And
he's
it's
there, he's
yeah,
wearing an Emerald Boys
yeah.
like training top. And
He
you
was where
you're
the
just
absolute beauty of it when they played their game against Barbados, and like the pictures came out from the game, and the team's playing in the emerald green, and he is the coach on the sideline, and he's wearing the red away shirt
yeah,
as,
class.
as manager, just on the side of the pitch.
Yeah,
Incredible, and yeah, no press release, nothing.
fair play.
Incredible. But a few
Yeah,
other sides that are definitely worth mentioning. Guyana, um, they've had a good start to life in Nations League B, but
yep. 2 from 2.
arguably more impressive than that are two sides in St. Lucia and Puerto Rico who have got 2 wins from 2 games after promotion from League C last time out.
Very impressive. Very
Very,
impressive.
very impressive. Surprising in some ways, no disrespect intended for Puerto Rico. St. Lucia have always been a solid side, but Puerto Rico doing really well. They're in Nations League C with your boys BVI and the Cayman Islands last time out. And
One of those teams, though, aren't they? Actually, but both of these may be too good for League C.
and
Are they? Are
arguably
they
not
League
good
B?
enough for League B, but
Yeah,
they've
but I
started
think
life
that both
very
of
well.
them have. The different distribution of teams across Nations League in CONCACAF, I think favours it. So you've got far more of a balance there. Because so St Lucia play 2-1-2. Their group, Dutch St Martin, St Kitts and Nevis, and Guadeloupe. That's a competitive group there
Yeah,
where you can see that they're not going to lose every game. Again, same with Puerto Rico. Guyana, a good side, who I'd imagine will come out on top. Bahamas, Antigua, and Barbuda, they're all solid outfits. But again, you can see how each of them would beat each other. Interesting that Montserrat and Barbados probably think that they've got the roughest draw with
toughest
both the
group. Yeah,
Dominican
Dominic
Republic
and
and
Guadeloupe.
Nicaragua. Really difficult group there. Really, really difficult.
The only thing I will say is when you look at the
Go on.
squad now of St Lucia, Terrell Thomas plays for Charlton,
Yeah.
now getting a regular game for St Lucia. And also a player who got 2-2, or has 2-2 for his national side. Rico Hackett plays for St
Rico
Lucia.
Hackett?
He
Is he
played.
Charlton, is he?
He's Lincoln.
Is he?
Yeah,
Rico
and he
Hackett.
played for 3 years for Portsmouth and got 60 appearances for Portsmouth. He was on the books at the Fulham Youth Academy and scored in their most recent international game. And a very, very good player.
Yeah.
25 years of
Ex-
age. And
Yeah,
will
ex
be-
Daggers.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
will be
okay.
playing now up front or in the attacking third for.
So he's
St.
playing.
Lucia.
He's playing for Lincoln this year, mate. He's
Yeah.
playing in League One. I had no idea. Has he changed his nationality then?
Well, I believe similar
In
to a lot of
2021,
players. Yeah.
in 2021, Hackett Fairchild expressed a desire to one day play for the St Lucia national football team,
Yeah.
which he is eligible through a grandmother.
Yeah.
And then he received his first call up in June 2023, 2-2. Yeah, interesting. I do quite like it when a CONCACAF team starts, when you have people that, again, talk about the English football pyramid, just outside that top bracket, and they start to explore other international options for themselves. These are very, very good professionals that can. It's good for them, but it's good for the Caribbean and the CONCACAF region because it's improving these nations and improving their performances. So yeah, props to, again, St Lucia. I've said props a lot on this. I don't know why. 2-2, 100% record.
Yeah,
Hopefully.
fantastic for them.
So in League B, remind me, top 2 go up
No, top 1 goes up. Top 2.
to League.
Yeah.
So imagine St Lucia in like a group. You're going to have a St Lucia there's going to be some of these smaller teams getting into League
Yeah.
A.
But top 2, so top 1 is shoe-in for Gold Cup. Top 2 is chance for Gold Cup.
Right. Yeah.
And 1 goes
Guadeloupe.
down.
Guadeloupe will be tough for them though.
Because League
in that.
B was unchanged from the reformatting. They just changed leagues A and C.
Final thoughts anyway, mate. Final thoughts. Something again that we missed. Sorry again. We tweeted about it. Lima's last dance. The
Yeah.
absolutely legendary player that played for Andorra for 20 plus years. Most capped player, most goals potentially as well. It's all on the Twitter stuff. We've shared loads of stuff about it. But yeah, again, massive congratulations on an extremely successful international career to Lima of Andorra. Enjoy your retirement. Any other P's and Q's, my friend?
Final one from me, actually, as it's just popped into my head as we were talking about the Twitter sphere and Lima, because Lima is a ambassador, an international ambassador for the Marshall Islands Football Association. And
Yes,
this
he is.
video
Good shout.
goes out, or certainly should be going out on the 18th, which is Monday. And so tomorrow, or the 19th, whenever you happen to be watching this video, the Marshall Islands Football Association are releasing their kit, their home kit. First ever kit for them, international football kit. So we'll be getting our hands on that. And we'll be doing a video, I'm sure, on like an unboxing type thing. Just very excited to see that kit come out. And of course, if you want to support a new footballing nation, then check them out. It's at SoccerFedMI on Twitter.
They've been quite good on their
They've been
quite good on their socials, haven't they? Yeah,
they're very good on socials. But yeah, if you want to get your hands on the shirt, don't know if it's worldwide shipping, but if you're in the UK, you definitely will be able to get access to it. So,
they're tapping in quite well to the football nerd culture like us on Twitter, aren't they? Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's even really nerdy things like when they did the kit design competition. I was enjoying watching the design submitted, and then even I like their crest. You know, it's all stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, like their crest design. Yeah, all cool, mate. All cool.
Great to get our hands on that kit, and of course there's a few other kits we need to get our hands on as well. Gambia definitely one, but yeah, there's a few more international jerseys I need to get my hands on as well.
Right. Yeah. Nice. Anything else?
Nothing from me. Anything from you, sir?
I think when we do these, are we going to call these longer format, almost podcasty type? Are we going to give these a separate name? As in like an episode of something. If so, if you're still watching this now after probably 50 minutes of talking, throw suggestions of what we should call this, like a podcast thing. So something that's just jumped to my head: international caps. You could call the podcast, or this kind of chat, you could call it Capping It Off.
Oh, not cap of tea.
Oh, cap of. Any suggestions? Throw them down in the comments. I was going to say, if anyone is still here at this point, then give yourself a pat on the back. I'm also, yeah. So,
and if you are watching, because it's been 6 months since you commented Green Bath on one of these episodes, we haven't forgotten about you.
No, definitely not.
We're getting really, really close now to kind of having everything set up that we need to provide people with mugs. We have a few ideas about apparel, prints, etc. I'm not going to get too much into it, but we haven't forgotten about you, and we still are going to do it. And there's a few other people that have said on various different streams we'll be getting a free mug as well, and that's definitely still the case. So just wanted to throw that out there, because if you've watched 48 minutes of this video, I think it'll be less than that by the time we cut it down, but 45 minutes of this video, and you're there going, yeah, but where is my mug? We haven't forgotten about you, and you will be getting your DNQ football mug.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, great shout, mate. Great shout. Yeah, we haven't. Hold us to it. Anyway, mate, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. There's so much coming up on DNQ Football. We've got the big run in now to the end of the year, loads of international breaks. Thank you for supporting DNQ Football, and as ever, we will see you next time.